We're about to tour the United Kingdom to see the most unique and diverse turtle and tortoise facilities in the entire country. Follow me as I explore secret tortoise gardens, UK's oldest zoo and largest 600-acre zoo, plus the largest collection of taxidermied specimens collected by a single person, and an exclusive look at a center dedicated to care, rescue, rehabilitation, and adoption just for turtles and tortoises. And we're starting here. We're at Swallow Aquatics, where we're about to meet an absolutely enormous soft-shelled turtle that's so big, I couldn't lift it out of the water myself.
Yep.
Quite a knowledgeable Chelonian specialist who saw this animal at a reptile expo from a dealer in Europe, and he was like, oh, that's interesting. So he got this Nile softshell as a hatchling, and the only reason why she's here in temporary housing is because he had a big fire in his facility. So he contacted ETA and said, did we know anyone that could help with the filtration? And
Holy cow. I'm trying to get our phone again.
Oh, no. I cannot grab this.
whoa!
Wow. Oh, my God.
Wow!
Here she comes. Here she comes. Wow.
It's a boy, unfortunately.
It's a boy? I'm going with her.
I don't think it's...
Tag out, tag out.
You want me to grab her?
You're the same size as her.
Want me to?
Yeah, you have a better shot at grabbing this turtle.
I don't know if I can. Yeah, that's tough for me to get stopped. I can lift it, but... Yeah. Hello.
Wow.
Now I'm gonna make it look small. I make every turtle look small. Oh, gosh.
That was a high five of a century.
I think it's peeing on me.
Yes. No, it's good. What is it, Peter? Is it male?
A male Nile softshell. This is the largest softshell turtle I've ever held in my life. Wow, what a beast. Peter Prashog, probably the world's most knowledgeable turtle generalist, is here, and I mean that he knows pretty much everything there is to know about all turtles. Ow, that one hurt. He says this is a male. I can't look because it's too heavy. Oh, jeez. I've only got another couple seconds in me here because he's scratching my hand. Yeah.
African soft-shell turtle, Nile soft-shell turtle, Trionyx triungus, right?
Yes.
Okay,
correct.
Peter Prashog, everybody, Turtle Island, one of the world's leading turtle experts. He knows everything about turtles, probably more than they know about themselves. Am I correct in saying that these guys grew up to about 94, 95 centimeters?
Yes.
Or bigger?
Absolutely, yes. There are even ones above a meter.
Wow. Holy cow. This is a male.
Yes. Two years ago in Turkey, one was caught with a meter and 8 centimeters.
A meter and 8 centimeters.
Yeah.
It's 3 feet plus. Wow. It's unbelievable.
It's a gorgeous boy.
Yeah.
They have a very big distribution, and probably we're talking about 2 or 3 different species,
2 or 3
which are not
species.
described yet. Yeah.
So will the females actually be bigger than this?
No, males are bigger.
Males are bigger. Okay, so that contrasts American soft shells then. Wow.
They eat pretty much everything.
Yeah. So typical soft shell.
Yes. I had 2 in a big pond, and they ate all the ducks.
They ate all the ducks.
All the ducks.
Okay, yeah, so if you keep these, don't get ducks. Wow. Is this the biggest male you've seen?
No, I've seen bigger ones. Zoo Munich has a big one, which is significantly bigger than this. Very smart animals. I love them. You can train them. They're really intelligent animals.
You actually train them?
Yes, absolutely.
Wow.
They take the food out of your hand. So, I mean, they don't like it when you pick it up and try to pull it out of the water. Right. Of course, they get aggressive, but in the water you can train them, and they're really, really smart animals.
It's incredible.
They like to be scratched.
Yeah?
Yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah,
I don't think this guy's a fan of any of us right now, but he's beautiful. It's just so amazing.
Yeah, but he's super calm. When you have one in the wild, he is just get freaking out when you touch it.
Yeah.
The Mediterranean population is critically endangered. Probably Africa, the situation is better. But they are eaten everywhere. I mean, the meat source, as you can see, there's a lot of meat on this animal.
Yeah.
And they're caught and getting rarer like the others.
Yeah. So, you know, with some of these turtles in nature, it's not just habitat loss and collecting and all that, it's people are still eating them. And an animal like this will provide a lot of meat. So unfortunately, that takes its toll on the population, and you know, these big, beautiful, majestic animals become meals.
Very calm. I don't think I've ever seen such a calm mind soft shell.
These animals can also be very dangerous to hold, but it's not just their bite you gotta watch out for. Go ahead, show them your battle wounds.
There you go.
How often do you get to go inside an exhibit at a pet store, and a really cool one at that? Okay, so this is an indoor pond here at Swallow Aquatics where they've got a lot of different rescued aquatic turtle species, mostly sliders, and there's also a Chinese golden thread turtle in here, all compatible freshwater turtle species. But what's interesting is they're sharing this with that amazing dinosaur-looking creature right there. That is a dwarf caiman, which is a crocodilian. It is a smaller crocodilian, so that animal can live comfortably in a setting like this, and it also needs that constant warmth, so being in a really elaborate indoor enclosure is what the animal needs. But don't get alarmed, because I know you guys are probably thinking, well, isn't that caiman gonna eat those turtles? Well, no, most likely not, because these are large aquatic turtles. There are no babies or juveniles in here. While crocodilians absolutely will make a meal out of turtles by nature, it's usually the smaller ones. We will, however, see like the American alligator make a meal out of a larger soft-shell turtle, or a slider or cooter like these. But in this case, these animals are well fed. They're not starved and constantly looking for food or anything like that. And it's really amazing to see them living totally in harmony, not having a problem with each other. And they all think that I'm going to feed them, turtle and croc included. Welcome to the Galapagos Islands, only it's inside. Today we're at the London Zoo, and we're going to get to see how they take care of some turtles, very small ones, and also some absolutely massive ones. Spot the turtle. You probably can't, because it's very hard to find because it's with the rocks and it looks like a rock. One of the species, one of the monumental species here at the London Zoo is the Chinese big-headed turtle, Platysternon megacephalon. Big head, that's what that means. These animals have massive heads, and they kind of look like little mini versions of alligator snapping turtles, and although they are not a snapping turtle, they absolutely can pack a powerful, piercing bite because of the strong, hooked beak that they have. So if you take a look at this incredible enclosure that they've done for them here, you can actually see the animal if you look closely. They live in shallow, cool, running streams, and the animal is doing exactly what it would be doing in the wild right now in the middle of the day, which is blending in and hiding with the rocks. So again, going back to how they do things here in the UK, again at the London Zoo, this is a massive greenhouse that they keep the Galapagos tortoises inside all the time because there's just no favorable weather for these giant tortoises here. Again, the Galapagos tortoise is the world's largest tortoise species, and we're getting to see some pretty incredible things here today. We just got Kim, our friend that we met last year, who was gracious enough to give us a tour of the reptile house, and we got to see some amazing things like Oku clawed frog, which is actually an aquatic species of frog critically endangered that comes from a crater lake called Lake Aku in Cameroon. Amazing frogs. They don't leave the water. They're super cute and awesome to watch. And of course, we got to see the Chinese big-headed turtles, another critically endangered animal that they're actually breeding here, which is something you don't see much of. It's a very notoriously difficult species of freshwater turtle to breed that lives in very cool environments, and they can actually climb vertically. They can go up trees, they can scale almost any fence, so keepers that actually work with that species, that typically will keep them indoors, have to be careful that they can actually get out of the enclosures. But Take a look around me. We're here right now inside this unbelievable building. This is the great lengths that some of these facilities are going through to keep animals like Galapagos tortoises happy. An interesting fact about Galapagos tortoises, these very animals are technically considered hybrids, and that's because over the years, Galapagos tortoises were collected off the different Galapagos islands, which each had its own distinct tortoise species, and then over time they unfortunately got mixed up. So much of what's going on today, because some of them are extinct, are hybrids. They carry the genetics of these once alive tortoise species. That's essentially all that's left of some of them. Not all, but many. Just like Jack and Sally at home at Garden State Tortoise, these Galapagos tortoises are essentially hybrids as well. So they are Galapagos tortoises, they just are a genetic makeup of various different islands found in the Galapagos. So now we're getting the pleasure to hang out here at the Whipsnade Zoo. And we did get a behind the scenes tour, but unfortunately we can't show you guys that stuff. It's just part of the zoo protocol here. But let me tell you, it was amazing to see what they're doing with the turtles here at this zoo. But I'm actually inside the elephant barn because more often than not, you will hear tortoise keepers or even tortoise conservationists talk a little bit about how similar tortoises are to elephants. Now, of course, we've got mammal and reptile, but tortoises often you can identify from a turtle because of their elephantine feet. That's one of the hard, true facts in identifying a tortoise from a turtle. You get those elephantine feet, and the word elephantine comes from elephant, whereas you have the more clawed or webbed feet of a turtle or box turtle. So something really awesome to point out right here, though, that is also similar to tortoises, is you'll notice here they're comparing the Asian elephant to the African elephant because here they have the Asian elephant. But when it comes to the African elephant, you can actually differentiate the savanna elephants from the forest elephants by the numbers of nails on the front feet compared to the rear feet. That is not unlike some tortoise species. So it's really interesting to see that we can compare the feet to begin with because they're elephantine, but we can also compare things like locality and geographical or even subspecific differences. The Whipsnade Zoo is absolutely massive. It opened up on May 23rd, 1931. And a really interesting fact about this zoo's history is that Sir Peter Chalmers Mitchell, who was the secretary for the Zoological Society of London, wanted to see something over here in the UK that was more expansive for animals. He wanted to see them have more space and be an open animal park. He actually got that idea from the Bronx Zoo in the United States of America. And let me tell you, it is taking a lot of effort to get through this zoo because it is absolutely massive. So now we're at the Natural History Museum at Tring here in the UK, and this is remarkable. Floors and floors and floors of all kinds of taxidermied animals, subspecies of which are now extinct, others that are still abundant or in trouble, all kinds of amazing things to see. And of course, we're at the turtle section here, and this is something really interesting that I want to point out. Look at the size of this animal behind me. This is an Aldabra tortoise, just like Mickey back home at GST, and you'll often hear people talk about how the Galapagos tortoise and the Aldabra tortoise are the largest, but who really is the largest? Most people say the Galapagos tortoises, but this animal right here proves a valid point I love to bring up, that sometimes the Aldabra really is the larger, girthiest animal. Now right here, Walter Rothschild, he loved giant tortoises, and this animal, he wanted to save them. He didn't want to see them keep being eaten because that's how it was back then. This animal he brought here to Tring in 1897, and it lived to be 128 years old. And when you compare this taxidermed Aldabra to the other animals around it, which are also Galapagos tortoises, this animal completely dwarfs them. Look at the sheer volume and size of this incredible animal that lived to be more than a century. This is what's really epic about these old specimens like this, because you don't really get to see animals like this anymore because the larger examples were often the ones that were poached for food and even the pet trade. This is a real Amazon basin giant South American yellowfoot tortoise. You guys have seen the yellowfoot tortoises on this channel, the Admiral and the General, and while they're big animals, they are nothing compared to this. This animal is almost the size of the adult sulcata tortoise next to it. This can't be put into words, but animals like this, barely, if any, exist today, this big. It's easy to get caught up in the magic of a professional facility like a zoo and all the amazing things they have to offer these animals, but sometimes the most magical things are being done in the places you least expect it. So right now we're in this massive greenhouse here at Eleanor's place, and she is the one that is responsible for the European Turtle Alliance Conference. That's why we actually came out here. I had to speak at the conference, which is by far the most incredible conference you can absolutely be a part of. I want to try to point out some things in here to show you the volume of work and what they have to deal with here. So come down here for a minute. You'll see right now a Hermann's tortoise, which is a Testudo hermanni, which is the Western Hermann's tortoise. This is a specimen that most likely derived from France, and she's really warm to touch. I'm gonna pull her out so we can take a quick look at her. And this is a very, very healthy, classic looking animal. You can see her black stripes down here. She's a little bit dirty, but what she's doing is she's given the ability to thermoregulate and adjust her temperature the way she would like to, because if she were left outside this time of year, she would start digging down too early. Even though it is the fall and it is October, it's too early for these animals to completely descend underground and disappear for the season, because by the time they would re-emerge in the spring, that would just be too long. So the animals can actually let themselves in and out of this big greenhouse, and she's got different partitions sectioned off so that the species don't intermingle or mix in any way. And this animal has chosen to come back into the greenhouse to sit underneath this light and warm up, which is really exactly what you wanted to see her do. And I could feel that from top to bottom, she is warm, and that's going to help her reach optimal temperature so that she can reach optimal digestion. Because if this animal were to just go to sleep right now, chances are her stomach contents would still be very full, and that can actually rot during hibernation if she were to descend and go dormant too early. And unfortunately, that would absolutely kill her. And she definitely is a little old lady, but I'm sure she has many, many years left in her, because Hermann's tortoises can live to be more than 100 years. Yeah, it is. Look at that.
You know, because this is what they do in England.
So Eleanor's showing us right now what the tortoises will do if they're not collected in time and they're left out too long in the UK. Obviously, this animal is safe. She's here. She's going to pull it in. But can you tell us what they're actually doing?
So they're trying to dig down in a scrape to... It's a natural behaviour to go into a hibernation. But the thing is, in Britain, we're only just in the beginning of October, but in their native habitat they would still be active, right. And this is where the big problem is. So bringing them in at night is a great way, even just having them in on a towel and a box overnight, just so that if it's warm enough for you in the house, right, their body temperature is not dropping below 10 degrees. Otherwise they go sleepy, woozy, they stop feeding, and that's why we used to lose so many.
What'll happen is they'll, you know, 'cause you heard her just say that, like in nature, Hermann's tortoises for the most part are still active in October. Ours at home are still active, even still eating a bit. So if she were to leave this tortoise to its own devices, it will continue to make the scrape and eventually burrow underground, and it could sleep for upwards of 6 months or longer, which reproductively and from a natural standpoint is not safe for them, because they shouldn't be hibernating that long, right?
They can survive it.
Yeah, they can, yeah.
They're surviving, not thriving. And that's why if you look at UK forums, we're often mentioning lighting and supplementation, because of our shorter summers. It's a lot more crucial, and we see a lot more problems with reproductive issues, with follicle stasis, or young babies not growing as well, because we're having to keep them indoors and then they're growing too fast, you know, and lean and mean, right?
Yeah.
Don't feed a tortoise every day.
No, you should. I tell that.
Yeah,
I'm so glad you
spring
said
and
that.
autumn, right?
Yeah.
Seasonality. Don't keep them the same all year round.
Yeah. People will say, I have to go away for a few days and I can't feed my tortoise. What should I do? Nothing. You shouldn't be feeding it every single day. These animals are grazers. They take what they want when they want, and they quickly move on. We're going to see firsthand right now some of these challenges with 2 brand new tortoises that have just come in for health checks.
Hi, you're right.
Yeah.
As part of our community support, we do offer husbandry health checks, particularly just before hibernation as animals start to wind down. And we did actually pair a female with a tortoise that's been in the family for how long? Did you have the first tortoise?
50 years. Yeah.
50 years.
50 years.
Yeah, which is really common in the UK.
Holy.
One has actually been spayed, which is quite interesting, which is quite common in the UK because of the short summers.
Yeah.
Females often have a sort of a bit of a malfunction.
I guess this is where the surgery was done, right? So what is this that's used to fuse the plastron back together?
So this is actually resin, which is quite a traditional method. They now do a live 3-sided cut and leave the blood to flow. So they'll actually do a hinge and put it back so it actually heals the bone. You don't need to leave the resin on, but this is like a traditional method where they've actually just resined it after they've done the op.
And how long ago was that surgery done?
About 10 years ago, I think.
Oh my goodness, she really is heavy.
And you see, you often get like, is this because she's overweight or is it edema or liver kidney? A lot of these animals have had a bit of a junk food diet.
Yeah.
So sometimes you are.
So now tell us, what is junk food for them?
Okay, so McDonald's for tortoises is vegetables and fruit, any of the broccoli, kale family, and particularly in Britain where it's a bit more critical, you have to be as on the nose as you can with lighting and plants.
Yeah.
It's best to feed like a high fibre sort of natural diet of leaves and flowers, and even adding in dried flowers and grass cobs.
Right.
But it can be really hard to get them off stuff, because of course if you're given the choice you're going to want to eat stuff that's really lush and yummy and sugary. It's actually really bad for your gut, and it can actually ferment and make them really poorly.
And the tortoise doesn't know that it's not eating something that it's not supposed to eat.
I know, they love it so much.
Yeah, they fall in love with it and they keep going. And before you know, there's a lot of damage that's been done to them. But the reason this animal was spayed is because of the reproductive issues that these North African Greica, these North African spur-thighed tortoises are facing here in the UK, mainly due to the unfavorable weather. And they're just in a totally different part of the world that they have a hard time adjusting. And as we've already touched on, the animals are surviving. They're not thriving. So there is a big difference there. But nonetheless, they're getting incredible care because there's a community involved in making sure that these animals have everything that they need. And this is something you don't see this in the US. Like, nobody really offers these health checks, with the exception of just taking your tortoise to a veterinarian. Now, we happen to have an amazing veterinarian, but the most people that keep these animals in the States don't.
Vets are super. In a medical emergency, always go to a vet. But
course.
Actually, a lot of issues are husbandry related, and it's about change. It's not about an instant here, give them a tablet, they'll be fine.
Right.
It's actually about changing their environment and putting the time in to get them onto a healthier diet.
Right. That's
you
amazing.
See the back nails?
Yes.
This is very common, so we'll do a little nail trim. You see if it's actually worn down where she's walked on her side, so she can't walk properly.
Oh, and look, you can really see it with this. Look at that.
And if you don't trim them, they can actually break at the root, which can be really painful.
That looks like a sickle claw right there. My goodness.
At the moment, which is great.
No, she hasn't had
We
for a while.
open her mouth.
Great.
Let's have a little check. You gonna let me? Lovely. Oh,
beautiful.
perfect. Yeah, she's got lovely bright eyes. Nares are clear. Skin, she's actually slothed really nicely. You can often tell the health of an animal. If the skin isn't shedding or they look a bit sugary, it can be a sign that they're having the wrong diet. So although she clearly has health issues, we know that she's had a good summer, been fed the right diet, so we'd probably advise a shorter hibernation, but you could actually cause more stress by not hibernating at all.
Yes, that's right. That's a great point. These animals are by nature are supposed to hibernate, and in the summer they're supposed to do something called estivate, which is when they escape the heat and they go dormant. So when you think about it, through the natural range of a lot of these tortoises, they're not actually active for that long in an annual season. What do we got here?
2,993. How much did she weigh in the summer? When you weigh, these are just digital scales from Amazon, so measuring increments of 1 gram ideally, not in pounds and ounces, and just a container to stabilise them so their legs are dangling, so you're getting an accurate weight. You don't want to weigh them upside down because their lungs are at the top of their shell and it's not very comfortable for them, particularly if you're doing a mid-hibernation weigh-in. So
3067 on the 19th of July.
Okay, 67 grams. I think because they do vary throughout the year, so there wouldn't be any reason for concern.
Water weight. Sure she's okay. 2656.
2668.
Yeah. Okay, so that's another indication that we're, nothing has changed. She's not dropped drastically in weight.
Healthy tortoises.
Bright-eyed.
Good news.
Considering they're old ladies. I mean,
Yes.
how old do we think? Do you know roughly how old your original one is? She hasn't grown since you've had her, and you've had her 50 plus years, right?
I personally haven't, but my mother has, and was definitely feeding her Genoa cake and all sorts of stuff.
Cake?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So she's
What
done
kind
really
of cake?
Well. Do you call it Genoa cake? It's like a fruit cake with cherries. And
A fruit
that
cake?
Sort of thing. Yeah.
Should we do her nails? Do you want
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So, it's like a dog, You have to be really careful because there's a quick there. So when they're clear, you're less likely to have a problem. And you need quite strong clips. And like a dog, it's good to work your way up so that if you hit the quick, you're not going to make them bleed too much. You don't want to go mad.
Yeah.
Alright, all done.
Looks good.
Thank you for bringing them in.
I love this tortoise. She's one of my favourites.
Oh, I remember her.
Frida, yeah. So she's got the hole in the shell again.
Yeah.
And then she's got damage from what might be a lawnmower here. And she's got a broken jaw, look. So I think she's at least 100
I wouldn't be
years old.
surprised.
So I've had her a long time.
Another North African.
Yeah.
But we don't know exactly what, right?
No.
She resembles some of the animals that we have from Algeria in the shape, and then you could tell, you know, at one point what the markings looked like.
Yeah.
They're not huge animals. They're decent size. They're not the Algerian giant ones, obviously.
This is a bit of a state as well if you want to see something like, you know, wild caught that's had a bit of an exciting life, not necessarily in a good way. I think that maybe there were other holes, that's why you got the damage, but this one's that's really bad. 'Cause
Wow, they
that's
tethered him
right into
there.
the tail.
They tethered him right there on the supracaudal shield. This is an Eastern Hermans, Testudo Hermanni Borgheri. He's an old boy, but he's small. He's very small. Really is. He's
Yeah,
beautiful.
he's been here quite a long while as well. Again, you know, the unwanted and unwashed, as it were.
Who's this?
This is Tommy. So she's had that 60 odd years.
60 years.
Yeah.
See? You see how long they live? You got to take that into consideration. You got to have a plan. That's incredible. What an amazing... this is so cool. He's beautiful. This is a tortoise. It is another North African.
Spur-thighed North African,
Yeah, it could be Americensis, could be a Greca Greca, could be what Susensis was, and now is Greca Greca. And as I've always said, we're here to confuse you guys.
Once you dropped Susensis, I knew I was done.
Mrs. Pierce is just here.
And Mrs. Pierce was the very first time I...
I'm over here.
Oh, hi there. She poked me in the kidney. Look at this animal. Oh my God. Sit down for this. This animal is no longer called Testudo greca whitei. They got rid of that scientific classification entirely. Didn't really know what to call these animals. They considered maybe they were just Testudo greca greca, or maybe they are a large Moroccan tortoise, Testudo greca maricensis. Since nobody seemed to agree on either one of those, these animals right now don't really have a legit Latin classification because nobody's really paying attention to them. They are absolutely impressive, incredible animals. They are not Ibera Greeks, as we call in the American trade. They are not any of the other Greek or spur-thighed tortoises. They are something that is incredibly unique, and I'm trembling with excitement getting to see them again because they're just so amazing and every bit deserving of conservation and preservation that the others are. Maybe even more so because we're not sure exactly what they are. Oh my, sorry. Yeah.
So she's a great big whitey eye, and like I say, she's just been spayed. Look.
Look at that. Oh my goodness. I hate to disturb her, but
Yeah.
look at that. Okay, so she's just been spayed. She's not responding well right now, or she's just feeling the after
I think
effects?
she's just traumatized.
She's just traumatized. Wow. Now, what was the reason for spaying her?
So she was full of incomplete egg follicles.
Okay.
So like they were budding off and then not forming a shell and not being laid. So we see a lot of this with these big females like this.
Yeah. And then, last year's conference, Matt performed that postmortem
Yeah.
on one of these exact animals that perished from follicular stasis. So, you heard what Jane said, where the follicles kept budding off. The animal essentially became full of them. They did not calcify or shell over. It eventually took the animal's life. And it's really unfortunate to see these beautiful, monumental North African, what we call in the States, Greek tortoises, when they're actually not. These are Mediterranean spur-thighed or North African spur-thighed tortoises, not to be confused with the sulcata, that really, they go through a hard time here. These animals were exported by the tens of thousands to the UK, and in fact, the US never really got these, what we call giant North African greca or spur-thighs. We got other types. So these are a little more populated over here in the UK. Still a very rare sight. something you will not see a lot of. Very special animals, and because of the fatty diet they're getting, lack of sunlight, and the males not being present to stimulate them, the animals, these females, they're living a long time, but they're suffering. And the reason that they're still living a long time is because, I can't say it enough, everything happens so slowly with these animals. They reproduce slowly, they hatch slowly, they grow slowly, and they die slowly. It's really an unfortunate situation. But for this animal to be spayed, once she comes out of this, post-surgical procedure, she seems to be otherwise really heavy and healthy and should make a good comeback.
Yeah, hopefully.
So many earlier books are preaching the wrong kind of care, and a lot of people still read those books or find that literature on the internet.
But I really wanted to write this book to encourage people who have a pet tortoise in Europe or the UK and in the United States as the main areas, to think about what they need to do, the seasonal aspects of it and all that kind of thing. You say about getting good sources of information is really key, because there is a lot of nonsense out there for people to find. Yeah. And what we're trying to do, which is I know what you're trying to do, is we're trying to support these animals and make the captive environment as close to the wild environment as we can. But at the same time, there's a balance, because we have to recognize that it's not their natural environment. So they do need support, they do need extra from us, because we don't have any tortoises in the UK. They are not native to the UK. So that's really important, message for people. Yes, get them out in the natural sunlight, help them be in the environment as much as you can, but recognize that they can't do it entirely on their own. They need our help.
We're going to put a link in the description of this video so you guys can get this book, because this is how the future is going to be shaped when taking care of these animals and trying to figure out the best way to provide for them, because all of that outdated information is still just kind of finds its way to the surface, and we don't want that to happen anymore. You can learn so much about these tortoises and turtles by listening to people like Jane, watching the right videos, reading the right books. Pick up a book, read it, please. She's not the only author we have here with us today. We've got our good friend Anthony Leone from Just Turtles. We'll put a link in the description of this video to his YouTube channel. You have got to model your version of how you're going to care for these animals based on where you live, but what you can learn from a book like this, and learning as much as possible about where they actually occur in nature.